The velocity of skin, intimacy in the core black cutie. The eclipse of the Magineth transition from digital omniscience to absolute blindness happened with a wet, low-frequency click, the sound of a circuit breaker fusing itself solid 30 feet beneath the rock of Ramat Gan. For 3 weeks, Yael had existed entirely within a luminescent universe of vectors, radar cross-sections, and predictive algorithms. The machine was her sight, her lungs, and her conscience. She did not look at faces. She looked at data streams. Then, the primary generator died. The lights vanished. A heavy, suffocating blackness, the kind of ancient dark found only in deep caves, slammed into the room. The comforting hum of the cooling fans choked to a sudden halt. A silence that felt like the stopping of a collective heartbeat to the 20 operators inside the bunker. Without the fans' white noise, the surface world rushed in. For the first time in 96 hours, Yael heard Tel Aviv screaming under an iron rainbow, rhythmic thuds vibrating through 30 feet of reinforced concrete, and the solace of her boots. Status. The commander's voice tore through the dark, stripped of authority. Get the auxiliary cells online manually. Yael, the Barak cache memory is clearing. Get to the dark core. Yael was already moving by muscle memory. If the auxiliary server lost its residual capacitor charge, the entire tracking matrix would wipe its cache. Reindexing would take 20 minutes time. They didn't have AI. The architecture of confinement. Their tactical flashlight sliced a sharp, blue-white blade through the corridor's rising dust. Without the intake fans, the air was rapidly turning into a soup of stale espresso, heated copper, and the sour sweat of panic. She bolted down the hallway, scraping her elbows on the concrete walls, and threw open the heavy steel door of the auxiliary vault. The dark core. The air inside was stifling, thick with the chemical stench of off-gassing batteries. Dropping to her knees before the terminal, flashlight held between her teeth, she cleared the locking pins from the manual breaker. The heavy steel door behind her clicked shut, sealing her inside the sweltering closet. Yael spun, her flashlight beam whipping across the room. It caught the blue and white insignia of an IDF intercept unit on a broad shoulder, traveled up a tactical vest, and locked onto a jawline darkened by 3 days of combat stubble. Eyes wide and flecked with amber, stare back through the glare. Who is that? She barked, the flashlight rattling between her teeth. Left, the voice replied. It was a low, resonant baritone carrying the sand-gritted rasp of the northern radar trailers near Haifa. His disembodied voice had lived inside her headset for weeks. Hearing it here, unfiltered, vibrating through the raw air of a concrete closet, felt violently intimate. They evacuated our trailer 60 minutes ago, he explained, chest heaving under his gear. The northern perimeter was compromised. They merged us down. I was looking for your station when the grid went black. 3. The mechanics of friction. The vault was too small. With less large frame inside, the remaining oxygen felt like it was being consumed twice as fast. He smelled of cold coastal rain, burnt propellant, and male musk. We have 30 seconds before the matrix drops its cache, Yael whispered, her voice stripped of technical bravado. Left didn't speak. He stepped into the narrow gap between her chair and the battery racks, his shadow swallowing the room. The space was so confined that his chest was inches from her face. She could feel the rhythmic rise of his tactical vest, the literal radiation of heat coming off his skin. Show me where the breaker is, he murmured, his breath brushing the crown of her head. The 3 iron levers, Yael said, fingers trembling as she reached toward the cold metal. They require 60 pounds of torque to throw simultaneously. If we don't drop them together, the voltage spike will fry the optical relays. Move your hands, he said. No, Yael countered, her gaze locking onto his. We do it together. Lev reached down. His hand did not find the cold iron first. It found hers. It was not a polite, military touch. His fingers were large, calloused, and heavy with northern dust. Yet they wrapped around hers with an astonishing, deliberate gentleness. His palm pressed firmly against the back of her hand, their sweat-slicked skin sliding together. The sensation was a physical shock, a sudden, fierce current. For weeks, they had been disembodied minds communicating via radio waves. Now, the raw reality of skin against skin was an anchor, A reminder that beneath the Iranian algorithms, they were still soft, living things. 4. The blue surge on 3, Lev whispered, his chest pressed fully against her back, framing her body in the cradle of his arms. The scent of rain, copper, and shared 0 hour flooded her. She could hear his rapid heart, synchronized with the frantic pulse in her own throat. 1, she counted, fingers interlocking with his around the cold iron. 2, his grip tightened, his thumb tracing a grounding line across the delicate skin of her wrist, a silent promise in the dark. 3, they threw their weight. The rusted livers yielded with a loud, metallic clack that echoed like a pistol shot in the small room. Instantly, the vault woke. The console screens exploded into life, blooming with neon blue brilliance. High-capacity relays clicked in rapid succession as Northern Sector data rushed back into the backup servers. System warning. Auxiliary power online, cast matrix restored. Indices secured. But neither looked at the screen's dot in the neon blue light. Lev looked down, eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made the machinery around them feel entirely irrelevant. His face was inches away, lips slightly parted, breath coming in short, uneven gasps. The blue light caught the sweat running down his temple, the rugged contour of his mouth, and the deep exhaustion they shared. His hand remained clamped over hers, his fingers refusing to let go, his thumb still rhythmically pulsing against her skin. The world outside was still fracturing, but within this tiny radius, the space between their bodies felt like the only gravity holding the universe together. Yael, he said, his voice dropping into that low. Private register, we have to go back to the floor, she whispered, though she didn't pull away. Her body remained leaned against his chest, her skin drinking in his warmth, terrified of the cold world waiting outside. Lev smiled a slow, weary, roguish turning of his lips. He allowed his thumb to slide one last time across her palm before stepping back, letting the cold air rush between them. After this barrage, Lev said, his hand lingering on the door handle. We finished that conversation. Out in the open, Yael took a deep, shuddering breath, her fingers still tingling where his skin had left theirs. Don't keep me waiting, radar boy.